Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to talk to you about a different approach how to see fashion and I call it true beauty, a triple top line, which means it's no longer a triple bottom line, it's a triple top line. We can make stuff which is good for economy, which supports society, and which supports the environment as well. Next slide. This means we need to rethink from the beginning. It's not about zero waste or reducing, avoiding, minimizing. It's about making things which are quality for biosphere or for technosphere. We eliminate the idea of waste and we make everything nutrition. Things which get consumed like fashion, textiles need to be designed to go into biological systems. Things which are just services need to go to the technosphere. There's no waste anymore. That means we can now make things which are far more beautiful because we are no longer selling toxic stuff. We can use the best materials, not the cheapest ones. Next slide, please. So traditionally, people think they're protecting the environment when they reduce water consumption, they reduce waste production. But you're not protecting, you're only minimizing damage. If I'm beating my child only 5 times instead of 10 times, I'm not protecting my child. I'm only minimizing damage. And fashion is about beauty. It's about holistic beauty, not just aesthetics. It's far more. A product which becomes waste just has a quality problem. It's not beautiful. So let's have a footprint which supports life. Let's have a big footprint which becomes a wetland. This is no longer about efficiency, which means doing things right. No, it's first the question, what is the right thing? So let's become native to this planet. This means we can make products which are good for the other species, not just a little less bad. Next slide. This is traditionally, we want to be good for economy, we want to be good for society, but when it comes to environment, we just want to minimize our impact. But for being less bad, we are far too many people. This is why it's a triple top line. Things which are amazingly profitable, which are beautiful for society and helpful, and which are supporting the environment. That's why it's about effectiveness. What is the right thing instead of just optimizing existing stuff? Next one. The fashion industry is quite important, and people are talking about just to have fashion apparel which lasts longer. But I have 2 older brothers, and I'm traumatized by my older brothers because I had to wear their old stuff, and I hated them for that because stuff lasts for long. So it's not about fast fashion against slow fashion. It's about healthy stuff. It's materials which are designed for the biosphere or the technosphere. And this is a different mindset than just reducing damage. Next one. This means no longer not just toxic, because that's not enough. But we see that for the masks, for example, which you have here, they're never made for skin contact. We have up to 2,000 particles of microplastic being inhaled per day just by these masks. They're never made for human health. So let's just not talk about not toxic. When I beat my child only 1 time or not at all, do I really protect my child? I need to make stuff which is good for my skin, which is designed for my skin, which cares for my skin, which supports my skin. Next one. Now we see people, which I call it the selfie generation. For the young people, it's more important to be respected in social networks than getting paid. So recognition is far more important than money. In this case, it's important to see it's a selfie generation. If you're making waste, when you're making toxic stuff, and there are about 20,000 chemicals which are used in textiles, then you're just an idiot. 1/3 of all the chemicals are used in textile industry. But people are talking about that half of all the wastewater problems are connected to textiles in industry. But you need to see that there's no other industry where so many people are actually involved. The textile industry is for humankind 8 times more relevant than the whole car industry. But let's think it from a perspective that we can be proud of what we are doing, not just minimizing being less bad, not being climate neutral. Yeah. So I see more and more fashion manufacturing. We said, oh, we are climate neutral. Yeah. Then you better close down because then you're climate neutral immediately. Did you ever see a climate neutral tree? Or did you ever see that you are child neutral? So let's be like a tree. A tree is good for the climate. We want to be good for the other species, not just neutral. For neutral, we are not. We are far too many people on this planet. Next one. So let's talk about new things. We can make materials which support the other species, which are made out of renewable. And I just give you some examples. But I'm a chemist and a chemical engineer, so I'm basically the material boy of the fashion industry because I can back you up with healthy stuff. And I'm analyzing environmental impacts. So 1/3 of all the microplastic in the North Sea is coming from textile abrasion. It's microplastic. But we can make these textiles designed that the microplastic abrasion can be good for the environment, not really toxic. It's not just about minimizing chemical harassment. It's about new design. And this makes it important from a health and environmental perspective. Next one. There are a lot of examples. So you can see on the right side the first deep plaque, which was designed for skin contact. Before, there was no plaque which you could put into biological systems and on the other side put on your skin without getting health problems on a longer term. These are the first shoes which we designed, which have healthy abrasion. We have 110 grams of microplastic just from shoe sole abrasion. These are the first workwear textiles, or this is Trigema, where 16 years ago we designed the first perfectly compostable T-shirts. These blueprints now can be used even in Bangladesh to make stuff which is extremely good for the environment. And one of the organizers of this event, the Beneficial Design Institute, and Professor Friederike von Wedel was designing and organizing this whole material management with Bangladesh. So we can have a partnership because the wastewater in making these textiles is so designed that it can be used directly for irrigation. It's about innovation, quality, and beauty, no longer about blaming and shaming. Next one. There is plenty of examples. We started in '92 with edible fabrics, which were done first with KLM in airplanes, but they are now commonly used in buses, in cars, in all different areas. Can you imagine when you're making a sofa, the pieces you cut off are so toxic that they need to go into hazardous waste incineration? So we choose positively what is in there, not free of. When I invite you for dinner, I don't tell you it's free of chicken, I tell you what it is. So we need to define what is in there positively. In the digital world, we can define things positively, and we see more and more textile manufacturing coming up. In fashion, it's the most relevant part because you can differentiate yourself and you can standardize yourself. It's both. You can be next to each other, you can have the same type of jeans, and you can have the different textiles to differentiate yourself and show that you're special. Next one. And we see a lot of innovation coming up. This is my good friend Giulio Bonazzi making Aquafill. I started with Greenpeace, a drift net campaign where we got the nylon drift nets out of the oceans, and there's thousands and thousands of tons now being used by Aquafill to make textiles where we can use the nylon forever. Nylon can be used endlessly for the same purpose with no quality constraints. It can be rebuilt, repolymerized without any significant loss of material endlessly. Next one. Next slide. So the beauty of this approach of cradle to cradle, not cradle to grave, is just beginning. By Corona, we lost in Germany about 8 days of our lifetime expectation in the last year. By inhaling fine dust, we are losing more than 5.5 years. With every breath we take, we actively reduce our lifespan because of fine dust. Why don't we have textiles, clothes, apparel, which actively cleans the air? We did some tests, and we would love to work with you on T-shirts which can actively absorb fine dust. Why should I use my 100 square meter of lung to clean the air when the air can be cleaned by textiles? Or we can make pro-microbial textiles. In about 40% of European population suffers from skin problems, skin irritations, but we can make stuff which is pro-microbial, not antimicrobial. Let's read. The innovation is just beginning. Next slide, please. So this is why it's about an economy which celebrates life. Fashion, the holistic quality. This is a triple top line. This is why beneficial design is so important to really come up with a new way to look at humankind on this planet. We can become native to this planet. We don't need to delegate it to some others. This is why this event, the Berlin Fashion Summit, is so important to bring people together for true innovation. We now can use 40 years of blame and shame for holistic beauty, quality, and innovation. Thank you very much.